Hello and welcome to my Swift tutorial for beginners. If you've never coded before and want to learn how, you're in the perfect place. I'll take you step by step, and by the end of the series you should have a solid mindset on how to code and build apps. So let's get into it. Today we're going to be learning about conditionals. On a daily basis we're faced with making decisions based on certain conditions. Like if it's sunny, we'll go for a walk. In Swift, the ability to determine an outcome based on a given condition also exists. It's known as a conditional. In this lesson, we'll set up our own rules and conditions for programs to follow using Swift's conditional statements and operators. The if statement is the most basic type of condition in Swift. It is only executed if the condition is true. The structure of an if statement is, so I'm going to write this as a comment for now. You start off by saying if, and then you write the condition, then you open the bracket, and then you would write your code here, so write your code. And then close the bracket. That's all it is. So the if statement must be followed by a condition whose value must be either true or false. The condition is immediately followed by a code block. So a code block is a snippet of code enclosed in a pair of curly brackets. So just like this. The code block is executed only if the condition is true. If the condition is false, the code block does not run. Let's take our example. We declare the variable is sunny. So var is sunny to be true. Then we would say if is sunny, then we would open the brackets and then print out let's go outside, and then you close the bracket. So now if you run this, it should print let's go outside. So this happens since the value of the condition is true. Now, what if is sunny was false? Let's run this. Nothing would be printed out because the code wouldn't execute, since our condition was false. A tool most commonly used with the if statement is the else statement. An else statement is used to execute a block of code when the condition of an if statement is false. Think of else as the word otherwise. So do this if condition is true, otherwise do something else. There are two rules to remember. An else statement must be used in conjunction with an if statement that cannot stand on its own. So if you would take our example, here if is on its own, but we cannot replace if with an else. This would give an error and you cannot do that. The second rule is that an else statement does not accept a condition and is immediately followed by a code block. So back to our example, you cannot give a condition to our else statement. You just put a bracket and continue on with the code. So in our example, we created an if statement that prints out a message if it's sunny. Let's use an else statement to complete this logic and print out a message if it is not sunny. So we would just add on else, bracket, print, can't go out. So let's run this. And this would print out can't go out because our condition is false. Now if we would put this back to true and run the code, it should give us let's go outside. So far, our conditions have consisted of a single variable whose value is a boolean, so either true or false. With the help of operators, we can expand on this and create conditions that utilize multiple lines to achieve a boolean result. Comparison operators determine the relationship between two operands and return a boolean value as a result. Swift supports the following comparison operators. Comparison operators are most commonly used to compare numerical values such as integers and doubles, though the equals to and the not equal to can also be used to compare string values. Here are a few examples. Notice how the capital B is not equal to the lowercase b, because Swift is case sensitive. Combining our knowledge of if-else statements and comparison operators, we can construct the following conditional to check for a student's grade on an exam. So let's say let grade equals 95. Remember, let is a constant, so you cannot change it. If grade is more than 65, we would print out you passed. Then you'd close the bracket. Else, open bracket, print you failed, and then close the bracket. So if you would run this, it would say you passed since the student grade is greater than 65. So the first code block would get executed. Until now, we've been working with conditionals that can only handle one condition. If that condition is met, our program follows one course of action, otherwise it will follow another. Swift provides us with a tool called else-if statements, which allows us to add additional conditions to a standard if-else statement. Here's how it works. Back to comments, we would say if, and then let's say condition 1. If this is true, so this, write your code here. And then close. Then you would say else if. And then once you say else if, you can put another condition after that and say, let's say do condition 2. Condition 2. Then open the bracket, write your code, and close your brackets. And you can keep going on. You can have as many else if statements as you want. And then at the end, you can choose to put the else statement or not. So similarly to an if statement, an else statement would only execute the condition if it is true. The else if statement exists only between an if and an else and cannot stand on its own like an if statement can. So you cannot put an else if after an else statement. And as I said before, you can have as many else if statements as you want between the if and the else statements. So let's go back to our grades example. Let's say we want to change our grades from numbers to letters. We can translate numerical grades to letter grades like A, B, C, and F, and etc. So first, let's change our grade. Let's change it to an 85, and then introduce a new variable called letter grade, and set that as a string with no value. So if the grade is more or equal to a 90, we would give a value to letter grade, and we would give it a value of an A. Then you would say else if grade is more or equal to an 80, we would give it a B. And so on. So if you would print this, remember we have our grade at an 85, so that would give us a B, since it's under 90 and higher than 80. That's all for this video. Make sure to stay tuned for next week, where I'm going to be explaining logical operators. Have a good week. See ya.